It is mailbag time here. We're going to dive into a bunch of questions that were asked during our live show, which airs every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Quick reminder, though, and this is not like a self-plug, but a genuine reminder, please turn on your notifications, at least for the next 2 weeks. So if Falcons news breaks, you can find out about it, and you can get my reaction to it. So do yourself a favor, click the notification bell, and that way, over all the free agency hullabaloo, you are not in the dark. First question coming in via Super Chat from Philip. What are the chances Jimmy Lake held Judon back and his production was down because his role was changed? I think I misunderstood the question the first time I read this. I think there's a good chance that Jimmy Lake did not use Judon to the best of his abilities. And as a result, Judon finished with just 5.5 sacks and looked pretty underwhelming for a third-round draft pick that was given up in a trade. I would not rule out the Falcons bringing Judon back with the acknowledgement of, hey, last year was not purely on yourself. We have some skin in the game here because we were having you drop in coverage at times, and that's not your strong suit. But I also think 100% of blame cannot go to Jimmy Lake. Judon had plenty of opportunities to sack the quarterback, and he didn't. Dave Joseph, trade Pitts for Trey all day. Like I said, we're filming this during our live show on Thursday, and this is going to be a very fluid situation, but surface level, I'm not opposed. And I know there are some really big Kyle Pitts stands out there, and I don't think I count myself one of them. I'm just living in reality. And here's the reality of the situation. Kyle Pitts played less than 50% of snaps the last 5 games of the season. Kyle Pitts is $10.8 million fully guaranteed as a cap hit this upcoming season. Kyle Pitts is entering the last year of his rookie contract. Kyle Pitts was deemed and viewed as underwhelming by Terry Fontenot after the season ended. All those signs point towards the Falcons do not believe Kyle Pitts is a long-term tight end for them. You might believe it, but it only matters what Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris believe. And if they don't think he is the tight end of the future, then why hold on to him when you could get a very good, like, reigning NFL sack leader player type of good for him? So, could Pitts still be good? Yes. But actions speak louder than words. And all the actions from Atlanta indicates they don't think he is. So why hold on to a guy who doesn't even play majority of the time? Yachty B, do you think we have a fair shot at getting Myles Garrett when he may want to pick a higher power spot like Philadelphia? All right, kind of a two-parter right here. One, do I think Atlanta's a fair shot? I don't think any team does because the Browns have been so adamant they don't want to trade Myles Garrett. So I'm now at the point where I don't think a Garrett trade is going to happen before the draft. I think the Browns are going to be stubborn. I think Garrett's going to be stubborn, and this is going to drag into training camp. And we'll see which side blinks first when Garrett starts holding out of training camp. As for Atlanta versus Philadelphia, the Browns are not going to do right by Garrett. If they don't want to trade him, which they don't, if they do decide to trade him, they're not going to go, all right, we changed our minds after everything we said. We are going to trade you, and we'd love to trade you to where you want to go. No. The last place the Browns want to trade Myles Garrett to is probably Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Why? Because those teams are picking at the end of round 1 every single year. They're going to get first-round picks. They want good first-round picks, not the 32nd overall pick. And you know who's got a much better chance of not giving the 32nd overall pick in their eyes? Atlanta Falcons. Like it or not, they're going to pick a team that's going to give them better draft picks for the future when you don't know who's picking where in 2026 round 1. Landon Hale, draft Mike Green and Harold Fannin Jr. and trade Kyle Pitts for a late-round pick. I think Harold Fannin Jr. is going to go right around round 3, which Atlanta currently is not in. I think round 2 would probably be a little bit of a reach, but maybe if you fall in love with him. Although, having said all this, Atlanta, unless it was one big smoke screen and one big diversion, they are doing all their pre-draft visits and invites and whatnot meetings with defensive players. So with Fannin being a day 2 guy, I don't see them sinking a day 2 pick into an offensive player. As for the Mike Green part, I can get around that, yeah. Picking at 15 is a weird spot. You don't quite know who's going to be there for sure. But if he's available amongst some other players, I can get behind it absolutely. As for Kyle Pitts, I think you could probably get a fourth, maybe even a third, depending on how much of the salary and the cap hit Atlanta eats. Archangel. I got Blake next up, actually. Which one is it? Blake. Here you go, Blake. Balake. We have not much time to free up cap space, and nothing seems to be happening. What are we waiting for? So, as I said earlier, twice now, this is being filmed during our live show. I kind of want to make a wager. I think this video is going to officially get published on Sunday, maybe Saturday. By Sunday, either Grady Jarrett or David Onyemata will either be released or agree to a pay cut and reduce their cap hit. I'm going to put that in stone. So when you're watching this, Blake, they will have made some moves. Archangel, next one up. From what you saw of Michael Penix so far, what QB would you compare him to? It's a good question. Okay, let's kind of go through. I don't like to do comparisons to like Mahomes, Allen, Brady. They're just so in their own kind of bucket of style of quarterback. You know what I mean? What about this one? Might not be a great comp. It's tough to do comps for quarterbacks. And anyone watching, feel free to give one as well. Phillip Rivers, the body physique, they're not the same. But Penix is not this crazy mobile quarterback, and old man Phil definitely wasn't either. Guys who will stand in the pocket, take a hit, but also love to go deep. Big Ben, I don't think I'd go Big Ben. Rivers, I'm going with right now. Maybe like, what about Jay Cutler? But slightly better decision making and not as many interceptions. I don't remember enough of Carson Palmer to give. This is my producer talking in my ear, by the way. I'm not schizophrenic here. I'd go maybe like a blend of Cutler and Rivers. Archangel, appreciate the question. NC Show, do you think Atlanta's sending 45 of 46 scouts that are defense knowledgeable a good idea, or do you think that's a bad idea? For me, I think it goes hand in hand on being good and bad. I mean, on one hand, we asked them to go out and improve the defense. They're doing it. This might be some overkill, though. I think we might look back and go, yeah, skipping, all the offensive players was probably a bad idea. Now, you only have 5 picks to work with, so if you planned on picking 5 defensive players, then you might as well look at all defensive guys. But when you only have 5 picks, then that means all defense, right? If you had 8 picks and you're like, we want to go 5 on defense, well, then, yeah, you want to spread your chips around, look at some of the offensive guys. But if the plan to go all defense and you only have 5 picks, then I guess why waste your time with the offensive players? Well, the devil's advocate would be you might fall in love with an offensive player and realize there's a hidden gem here in round 4 we should really target. And even though it's not one of our biggest needs, we will thank ourselves in the future when we have an incredible player. We're going to look at some more questions in just a moment here, but first things first, there's an awesome deal going on right now at Fanatics. This Falcons sideline gear is 35% off when you go to chatsports.com/ATL sale. I know you probably already forgot that, so I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. At the moment, it may not seem like a great time to stock up on some winter-ish gear, but trust me, in like October, November, you will love yourself for having this for over a third off. So use our link to get this awesome sale today. One Shot Gaming. Should we trade Kirk for a second pick and trade that pick to the Bengals for Trey? Yeah, and One Shot Gaming, you and I should do acid together and go to the moon on a Tesla rocket ship. You're not finding a team in the CFL that would give you a second-round pick. There are European teams. I mean, the Warsaw Bulldogs wouldn't give you a second-round pick for Kirk Cousins. So, enjoy the LSD trip you're on, man. You're not getting a second for him. Petey, why did you not ask Raheem why he didn't call the timeout? That's a good question. Let me give you like an honest answer, too. One, my first time going to the NFL Combine. So it was a little bit of a soak it in kind of learning experience, so to speak. And what I learned is it's not easy to just get your question in. There are, let's say, 20 people all yelling out the same exact moment their question, and one voice just tends to emerge. I got a question in for Fontenot. I got a question in. Can we actually, right at this point here in the video, I'm going to put my question in for Fontenot and my question in for Morris. So now, and we're back. So it's not easy to get your question in. And then 3, I kind of pussied out. Like, he's standing right in front of me, and it's so much easier to be a tough guy on YouTube. And I was just, everyone's very nice. He was cordial with us, right? He was very respectful. And all of a sudden, I'm just going to, like, dial up the heat. And I felt like maybe burning a bridge the very first time I ever speak to him is not going to set me up nicely in the future. So a combination of, if I got to ask more than one question, maybe like my next question I would have been, hey, did you play Madden over the last few months to learn how to call timeouts? But when you only get one question, you don't feel like, let's be an asshole. So that's kind of the real reason why. I'm mad at myself, though, too. Dale, no power tools. That's just my toothbrush. That is not your toothbrush. Do you think we're getting new uniforms this year? No, I don't think so. Did you know anything about carpentry? No, of course not. We have a few more questions, I think. All right, Dale. Sorry. Although I'm not a fan of the gradient ones. Jason, do you think Raheem should be on the hot seat with all the issue with Cousins and Judon not really working out? Internally, which we do not know, there is probably a much better understanding as to who is to blame for the Kirk Cousins and Judon acquisition. Were those players just kind of handed down to Raheem Morris? Maybe. For all we know, the Judon trade was completely powered by Terry Fontenot. And Raheem Morris was just along for the ride, and here's your roster, go work with it. I know Raheem Morris preached having, a good relationship, a good working relationship with the GM, like Les Snead and Sean McVay had in LA. So I'm not inclined to believe Fontenot did all this work, and Morris is just like the manager from the Oakland A's and Moneyball who's just along for the ride. But I think there's blame that can go to Morris, it can go to Fontenot, probably a little bit of Arthur Blank, because he was likely peer pressuring a little bit to make some splashy moves at quarterback. Taylor Vaughn, is Cade Mays a free agent? Tennessee guard who went to the Panthers. There's Cooper Mays, who is going to be in the draft this year. He might go undrafted. I don't know if Cade Mays is a free agent. Last I saw, he was in Carolina. I'll never say no to a Tennessee Volunteer being signed. So sure, Taylor, let's go after Cade Mays. Why not? Okay, another super chat, and we'll actually end on this one right here. So we're doing this during our live show, as you've all heard by now. Taylor wants to know how many likes to share your proposal story to your fiance. We have 133 likes. I said 100 likes. I'm not going to try and lose all my viewership in the next 30 seconds, but basically, I, in advance, told my family and her family which weekend it was going to happen, had them all fly down to Dallas, where Chat Sports is located and where we live, and set up a secret operation of doing a proposal at the top of the Reunion Tower, which is this, like, sphere that looks over the whole city. I thought, by the way, this is the funny part, I was under the impression that the whole thing was going to be reserved for us because it was called the proposal package. No, it was not reserved. There were lots of strangers up there. It was kind of funny, but kind of awkward at the same time because I thought we'd be the only ones there. That was not the case. So a lot of people were just looking over the Dallas skyline. We're standing right next to us during it. And then I organized a surprise proposal engagement party with some caterers coming in because that was a lot cheaper, by the way, than going to a restaurant. So I recommend that instead. And that was a lot of fun. It was excellent, went very smoothly. So that is how it happened. Taylor, appreciate you. Oh, and one last funny thing. I had my fiance's grandparents fly in, and my fiance has her grandma's, like, find my phone, like, find my location, find my friends, and I had to painfully explain to grandma how to turn that off before she got here. Guess what didn't happen? All right. That's going to do it for us on our mailbag today. Thank you for watching and putting up with my, sure, kind of boring story at the end. But, Taylor, I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see everyone later with more free agency content.